Hello all. In today's session, we are going to be learning how to launch an instance in AWS. Let's first understand what an instance is. Instance is nothing but a virtual server which gets activated or gets launched, connected every time an end user is trying to host any application. It is a computing resource that is provisioned by your AWS cloud service provider to host your applications, to run your applications, to test your application. It might be a static or a dynamic application. First, let's log into the AWS service. Go to your Google, just give AWS login and click on the login. This is going to take me to the console, which I've already opened here. If you come to the right top corner of your dashboard, your AWS dashboard, you would be able to see your account, ID, and all the primary requirements that exist in your account, like your billing, the security credentials, and all those. Right next to your AWS dashboard, you're going to be having something which is the location or the data center on which you're going to host your instance. Fine, let's understand what data center is. Every time you're about to create an instance, every time you're about to use a service from your AWS, it is provisioned from a physical server, which means you are connected to the internet, you're accessing AWS through the internet, and the data that you're accessing is from a physical data center. AWS has its own physical data center, which is distributed across the globe, which is further classified into east, west, north, south, central of each countries. Say if I take United States, there's going to be North Virginia, which is specified as US East 1, Ohio, which is in US East 2, North California, which is US West 1. Similarly, there is Asia Pacific zones. So you have a data center in Mumbai, which is in AP South 1. There is a data center in Korea, which is in Seoul, which is AP Northeast 2. We have a data center in Singapore, which is AP Northeast 1. Similarly, there are various other countries which host the data centers of AWS. Fine. First, when we are moving into creating an instance, you have to first go ahead with choosing the data center. And you have to be sure that which data center you're going to host and which zone you're going to host. So these data centers are further classified into various availability zones. So let's talk about all in detail. Let's first go ahead with selecting the data center. So I want my EC2 instance to be launched in Ohio. I'm just going ahead with Ohio. So just make sure your dashboard is reflecting the current data center that you're about to use. Whichever the services that you want to access in your AWS, just go ahead with searching it here in the search bar. So the current service that we are going to access is to launch a virtual server, which is a virtual machine. How do we do that? With your Elastic Compute Cloud, which is your EC2. See, whatever the services that we access is all listed here, which I had been working, and I'm just going to go ahead with EC2. Just type EC2, click on EC2. You're on the dashboard of your EC2 now. You can see there are various resources available. So what are resources? Every server that you're accessing is going to be having few set of computing resources. What are computing resources? Processor, memory, and your storage. So for every instance or the virtual server that you initiate or launch, there are some set of computing resources allocated for you. Not just limited to your processor or your RAM or your hard disk drive, but even when it comes to the security policies, network configurations, and placement of these instances all comes into the role. Let me just directly go into clicking on to the instances. Right now, I don't have any instances running in my AWS EC2 service. How do I launch it? Just go ahead with launch instance. Now, you would be asked to give the name of your instance. Give any random name, but a meaningful one. Let me just give instance 1. Okay, let's talk about Amazon machine image. Fine. We are working in our laptops and we have an OS which is already installed in our laptop. And only because of this OS we are able to access the applications running on the OS. So your OS plays a major role in hosting your computing resources to you. So you're supposed to select the OS that you want to get your activities done in your EC2. They already have the OSs inbuilt inside their service, which they call as Amazon Machine Image. All we have to do is just choose the image of the OSs that we want to launch or to get connected through our EC2 instance. So for this particular session, I'm going to go ahead with Windows. So select Microsoft Windows. Scroll down. So my account is a free trial account which is going to be providing me the free tier eligibility services for 1 year, and I am supposed to use the image which is specified to that particular eligibility service. Click on the drop down. Go ahead with Microsoft Windows Server 2022 base. So I have the description of all the for specifications I'm going to be using under my Microsoft Windows Server 2022 base, which is going to be using the 64-bit architecture x86, and the username is going to be administrator. The publish date, the ID of my AMI is given over here. And you can see here the Microsoft Windows 2022 Data Center Edition is clearly given over here. Now, let me come to the instance type. So as we discussed, instance is a virtual server. We are going to select what type of virtual server we are going to use. So under your free tier eligibility, we have various types of instances. So currently I'm gonna go ahead with T2 Micro, and we have T2 Nano, not limited to that. So here it falls under the instance of T2 family. They are going to be provisioning me one virtual CPU 1 gigabytes of memory, and the services based on the hours I'm going to use, or the pricing based on the hours I'm going to be using, is all given here. So you can just go ahead with this. We don't have to worry. There's not going to be any pricing or hefty amount that's going to be put on us. So the next very step that we have to do is to create a key pair. Just click on create key pair. Give the name of your key pair. I'm just gonna give as instance key 1. Just make sure you're not giving key pairs with the same names, and it's highly sensitive in that. So go ahead with create key pair. Why do we have to go for create pair? Because you are supposed to establish a connection with your server, which has to be highly secured. So they are going to be using RSA encrypted private and public key pair, which is going to be having PEM format, and go ahead with create key pair. Now if it is downloaded, just keep it here in your system, in your local machine. Go ahead with the network settings. Let's just keep the VPC as default, because I'm not gonna dive deep here now. We're gonna be discussing about it in our upcoming sessions. So I'm just gonna go ahead with the existing features, the configurations, and I'm not just gonna do anything over here. I am provided with a storage of 30 GB, which is under GP2 type. I'm just gonna go ahead with that as of now for launching a simple instance. Click on launch instance. Fine. Now if you've successfully launched an instance, click on the instance ID. You can see the name of the instance, the ID is generated for it, the state of the instance is running, the instance type is T2 micro, and the status, this is an important thing you have to remember. Means it is just in the phase of initializing the instance, which means we are supposed to wait till the instance is changing to the pass check. So they are going to be changing the status from initializing to pass check as 2 by 2 or 3 by 2 or 2 by 3. So keep refreshing. You can see here the availability zone on which I have launched my instance is US East 2C. 2C is the availability zone. We basically have 1A, 1B, 1C, 2A, 2B, 2C as our availability zones. So there is a public IPv4 domain name servers that is given to us, and there is a public IP which is given to us. Obviously, you cannot access the internet, or you cannot host anything in the internet, you cannot run anything in the internet without your public IP, which is your IP to recognize that you are a device in the internet, which means a device in the cloud, a recognized device in the cloud. Just go ahead with refreshing the instance. Yes, now the status is changed from initializing to 2 by 2 checks passed, which means I am ready to connect with the instance, which means my instance is all ready to get connected. Go ahead with connect. Now we have to download our remote desktop protocol, and hence we have to establish it in order to work on the remote desktop, which is again a desktop virtualization. We discussed it in the previous session where we saw about various categories of virtualization. So they are going to be mirroring the server through your virtual desktop. Go ahead with RDP client. Download the remote desktop file. Just keep it in your downloads. Keep it. Now you're supposed to access it in a secured way, and hence there is a password that is to be generated. You already have the username. So to get the password, just go ahead with get password. We have to upload the private key that we generated in the previous step, the key pair which we downloaded. So go ahead with upload private key, go to downloads, select the key, open, decrypt the password. Now your password is decrypted. Copy the password, go to downloads, open your remote desktop, which is the instance we just created. Go ahead with connect, give the password here, go ahead with OK. Say yes. Your instance is launched. You can see here EC2 hyphen IPv4 dot US East 2 dot compute dot Amazon AWS.com, which means this EC2 instance of particular IP is launched in US East 2C of your Amazon service. The desktop that you're viewing right now is not your local desktop. It is a virtual server, and hence your EC2 is a virtual server which is hosted from Ohio of availability zone 2C. Control Windows E, I'm gonna go with Windows E, just going to show me my PC. So we went with configuring the storage, but we did not do any modifications there. So as you can see, the default storage that is given to us is 29.9 GB, which is 30 GB. And hence we can use this particular desktop to host our applications, to run our applications. So the service that is provided through your AWS is a platform as a service scenario or a paradigm, which means they are providing us the platform right till your operating system. The virtualization is taken care by AWS. The underlying network configuration is taken care by AWS. The storage is taken care by AWS. You can scale up and scale down the storage as and when you want, but it's again pay as you go model. It's very simple as that. I don't have to invest on any hefty hardware. I don't have to invest on hefty amount in purchasing hardware. All I can do is just create an instance, host the application on my instance, and run the applications anywhere, anytime. And that's how you launch an instance in EC2. I'm going to close the instance. Go ahead with OK. Now, go to instances. As you can see, the instance 1's status is 2x2 checkpass, which is running. Select the instance. You can alter the state of your instance. You can stop the instance. This is gonna stop the instance for a while. There are various states. You can start the instance again. You can reboot your instance. You can hibernate your instance. You can terminate the instance. So it's a best practice for us as a beginner, as a learner. It's always best practice to work with the instance, host your applications, get to know how the services are running, and then terminate the instance right after your session is done. So can see here the state of my instance is changed from running to stopped. Now I can go ahead with start the instance. This will immediately start the instance. Okay, might be throwing some errors, but all you have to do is just keep refreshing the instance. Okay, so just go ahead with start instance again. So this is throwing me with some notification as successfully initiated the instance with the ID of the instance. The state is still pending, still, so we have to wait. Now the state is running, and now we would be able to connect back to the instance again. Now I'm gonna delete the instances. Go ahead with terminate. Terminate. Just make sure your status is changed from running to shutting down, and from there on to terminated. So that's about launching an instance is EC2 instance. An instance in EC2 servers. So we have various other services like this. So we'll see all this in detail in our upcoming sessions. See you all then. Bye bye.